from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studio.
But Asian markets, that's indicating a bit of a muted start for the Indian markets as well.
The implied open is 1.5 odd point change, so quieter and quieter into the end of the year. That's what it looks like. 26,000 is where the Nifty is at, slightly higher. The Nifty Bank is up about 0.15.
If you see in the balance sheet and P&L, there is no mistake at all. It is only in the standalone we have missed, which we clearly clarified.
The headline indices might hold steady, but I think the breadth of the market might continue to get slightly weaker.
Most of the brokerages have maintained this positive stance on Indigo despite the problems that the company has been facing for the last few days.
While the stock is facing a balance sheet and cash flow concerns with a question mark on the company's revenue growth.
Some visuals coming in. The Russian president, we have Vladimir Putin, along with Narendra Modi and the Indian president.
The MPC voted unanimously to reduce the policy repo rate by 25 basis points to 5.25%.
Important thing is that we will provide sufficient liquidity to the extent it is needed.
Well, it's the RBI day, and as we were saying in the morning, the market, of course, responding in a favorable way after the decision is done. On your screen now is the other big event, which is, of course, about to kick off, which is, I guess, a joint address by Prime Minister Modi and Russian President Putin. So I think they're just sort of getting ready on the dais on stage, and we should be able to sort of listen into both leaders. I mean, it's been a day full of meetings focused on defense, trade, energy, and more. And I think, we will hear both leaders reaffirming the friendship between India and Russia and the long-term relationship which both countries have enjoyed and, would like to sort of build on. So just waiting for that to come through. We had a statement coming in from, of course, India's side earlier. That was, of course, before the bilateral meeting where, with regards to the Ukraine conflict, there was that comment that India is not neutral. India is voting for peace. But of course, I mean, in that sense, refusing to take a side one way or the other. There were some stories before suggesting that European leaders have reached out to India to try and put the word in with Russian President Putin to de-escalate as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned. So just waiting for some of the remarks coming in from both leaders in just a bit.
Cooperation in the field of healthcare, medical education and science, as well as the agreement between the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of Republic of India and the Federal Service for Surveillance on Consumer Rights Protection and Human Well-being of the Russian Federation in the field of food safety cooperation. These two agreements will be exchanged by Mr. Mikhail Albertovich Murashko, Minister of Health of the Russian Federation, and Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of India. We next have two memorandums of understandings. These include the MOU between the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways of the Republic of India and the Ministry of Transport of the Russian Federation on the training of specialists for ships operating in polar waters, and the MOU between the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways of the Republic of India and the Maritime Board of the Russian Federation. These documents will be exchanged by...
while we are waiting for, and we'll cut right, as soon as the Prime Minister Modi and President Putin start to address the press which is gathered there, but maybe we can just get some trading ideas out of the way before we go any further. Markets are up 125 points. We're coming to you from the CNBC-TV18 News Online studios. Surabhi and Nigel with me. Guys, afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, that's the high-powered, press meet that's going to get underway, the public statement that will get underway shortly. But in the meantime, it's not been such a bad day for the market at all. The RBI has obliged. The bulls are feeling a lot better. And I'm in the screen, 26,150 on the Nifty. And boy, look at those NBFC stocks, some of the bank stocks. What a move after the policy.
Well, that's right. The policy has worked in favor of the bulls. You'll have to give a tick mark on all fronts. The rupee has shown some kind of stabilization. You have the bond yields as well that have cooled off a little bit. And the markets are still holding with good gains. Besides the RBI policy, I think the stock of the day on the downside has to be Keynes. The stock is almost at lower circuit. Yeah, it's almost at lower circuit the last time I checked. Management coming in there, putting out a clarification, but the street cannot buy into this, right? Your operating cash flow is negative. You can't make grave mistakes like this. Going ahead, doing some inorganic growth, and then the numbers don't add up. Your balance sheet as well as your cash flow statements are not looking good. And the street is not pardoning that at all. No exit as of now. Stock down close to around 10%. Pending shares are out there for sale.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's get Mitesh in for a quick couple of trades if we have the time before the address starts. Our colleague Hormuz, by the way, points out that this is the worst ever week since listing for Keynes. It's down 17%, 40% from the start of the year. Mitesh is with us. Mitesh, any thoughts on Keynes and, of course, your own trades? Mitesh, if you can hear me? Mitesh, are you there?
I think we'll have to go back.
We'll just give it a minute. Deven is with us. Maybe a quick question to Deven before we go any further. Deven, good afternoon. Good to have you with us here. We're waiting for the leaders to start speaking, but I guess we have some time. Keynes, if you want a word in on what's going on and your reading of the situation. We, of course, spoke with the management. We'll play out some sound bites in a bit.
Hi, Prashant. Good afternoon. No, well, I have not gone through in detail, so would refrain from putting any comments at this juncture.
But surely, I mean, it's jumping out on a screen, right? I mean, the kind of volumes, the kind of sort of price damage. And by the way, it is not just Keynes. If you can have some of the other names up as well. Pull up Amber if you can. Intradays. Amber is down, the last I checked, some 5.5%. Sirma is down about 4% or so. Something like Avalon is down. Okay, there is a bit of a recovery in Amber. Sirma is still down 4.5%. And some of the other names as well. I'm not sure if, what's happened with Keynes, especially in terms of cash conversion, right? Cash flow cycles, which have been tight for everyone, is coming into sharp focus. More on this in a bit, but I think we have that address which is starting. And let's cut across. Listen in.
To welcome President Putin.
स्वागत करते हुए मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है। उनकी यात्रा ऐसे समय हो रही है जब हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंध कई ऐतिहासिक माइलस्टोन के दौर से गुजर रहे हैं। ठीक 25 वर्ष पहले राष्ट्रपति पुतिन ने हमारी स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की नींव रखी थी। 15 वर्ष पहले 2010 में हमारी साझेदारी को स्पेशल एंड प्रिविलेज स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप का दर्जा मिला। पिछले 2.5 दशक से उन्होंने अपने नेतृत्व और दूरदृष्टि से इन संबंधों को निरंतर सींचा है। हर परिस्थिति में उनके नेतृत्व ने आपसी संबंधों को नई ऊंचाई दी है। भारत के प्रति इस गहरी मित्रता और अटूट प्रतिबद्धता के लिए मैं राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का, मेरे मित्र का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। फ्रेंड्स, पिछले 8 दशकों में विश्व में अनेक उतार चढ़ाव आए हैं। मानवता को अनेक चुनौतियों और संकटों से गुजरना पड़ा है और इन सब के बीच भी भारत रूस मित्रता एक ध्रुव तारे की तरफ बनी रही है। परस्पर सम्मान और गहरे विश्वास पर टिके ये संबंध समय की हर कसौटी पर हमेशा खरे उतरे हैं। आज हमने इस नींव को और मजबूत करने के लिए सहयोग के सभी पहलुओं पर चर्चा की। आर्थिक सहयोग को नई ऊंचाइयों पर ले जाना हमारी साझी प्राथमिकता है। इसे साकार करने के लिए आज हमने 2030 तक के लिए एक इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन प्रोग्राम पर सहमति बनाई है। इससे हमारा व्यापार और निवेश डाइवर्सिफाइड, बैलेंस और सस्टेनेबल बनेगा और सहयोग के क्षेत्रों में नए आयाम भी जुड़ेंगे। आज राष्ट्रपति पुतिन और मुझे इंडिया रशिया बिजनेस फोरम में शामिल होने का अवसर मिलेगा। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि ये मंच हमारे बिजनेस संबंधों को नई ताकत देगा। इससे एक्सपोर्ट, को प्रोडक्शन और को इनोवेशन के नए दरवाजे भी खुलेंगे। दोनों पक्ष यूरेशियन इकोनॉमिक यूनियन के साथ एफटीए के शीघ्र समापन के लिए प्रयास कर रहे हैं। कृषि और फर्टिलाइजर के क्षेत्र में हमारा करीबी सहयोग फूड सिक्योरिटी और किसान कल्याण के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है। मुझे खुशी है कि इसे आगे बढ़ाते हुए अब दोनों पक्ष साथ मिलकर यूरिया उत्पादन के प्रयास कर रहे हैं। फ्रेंड्स, दोनों देशों के बीच कनेक्टिविटी बढ़ाना हमारी मुख्य प्राथमिकता है। हम INSTC, नॉर्दर्न सी रूट, चेन्नई व्लादिवोस्टोक कॉरिडोर पर नई ऊर्जा के साथ आगे बढ़ेंगे। मुझे खुशी है कि अब हम भारत के सी फेरर्स की पोलर वाटर्स में ट्रेनिंग के लिए सहयोग करेंगे। यह आर्कटिक में हमारे सहयोग को नई ताकत तो देगा ही, साथ ही इससे भारत के युवाओं के लिए रोजगार के नए अवसर बनेंगे। उसी प्रकार से शिप बिल्डिंग में हमारा गहरा सहयोग मेक इन इंडिया को सशक्त बनाने का सामर्थ्य रखता है। यह हमारे विन विन सहयोग का एक और उत्तम उदाहरण है, जिससे जॉब्स, स्किल्स और रीजनल कनेक्टिविटी सभी को बल मिलेगा। ऊर्जा सुरक्षा भारत रूस साझेदारी का मजबूत और महत्वपूर्ण स्तंभ रहा है। सिविल न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी के क्षेत्र में हमारा दशकों पुराना सहयोग क्लीन एनर्जी की हमारी साझा प्राथमिकताओं को सार्थक बनाने में महत्वपूर्ण रहा है। हम इस विन विन सहयोग को जारी रखेंगे। क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स में हमारा सहयोग पूरे विश्व में सिक्योर और डाइवर्सिफाइड सप्लाई चेन सुनिश्चित करने के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है। इससे क्लीन एनर्जी, हाईटेक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और न्यू एज इंडस्ट्रीज में हमारी साझेदारी को ठोस समर्थन मिलेगा। फ्रेंड्स, भारत और रूस के संबंधों में हमारे सांस्कृतिक सहयोग और पीपल टू पीपल टाइज का विशेष महत्व रहा है। दशकों से दोनों देशों के लोगों में एक दूसरे के प्रति स्नेह, सम्मान और आत्मीयता का भाव रहा है। इन संबंधों को और मजबूत करने के लिए हमने कई नए कदम उठाए हैं। हाल ही में रूस में भारत के 2 नए कॉन्सुलेट्स खोले गए हैं। इससे दोनों देशों के नागरिकों के बीच संपर्क और सुगम होगा और आपसी नजदीकियां बढ़ेगी। इस वर्ष अक्टूबर में लाखों श्रद्धालुओं को काल्मिकिया में इंटरनेशनल बुद्धिस्ट फोरम में भगवान बुद्ध के पवित्र अवशेषों का आशीर्वाद मिला। मुझे खुशी है कि शीघ्र ही हम रूसी नागरिकों के लिए निःशुल्क 30 डे ई टूरिस्ट वीजा और 30 डे ग्रुप टूरिस्ट वीजा की शुरुआत करने जा रहे हैं। मैन पावर मोबिलिटी हमारे लोगों को जोड़ने के साथ साथ दोनों देशों के लिए नई ताकत और नए अवसर क्रिएट करेगी। मुझे खुशी है कि इससे बढ़ावा देने के लिए आज 2 समझौते किए गए हैं। हम मिलकर वोकेशनल एजुकेशन, स्किलिंग और ट्रेनिंग पर भी काम करेंगे। हम दोनों देशों के स्टूडेंट्स, स्कॉलर्स और खिलाड़ियों का आदान प्रदान भी बढ़ाएंगे। फ्रेंड्स, आज हमने क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी चर्चा की। यूक्रेन के संबंध में भारत ने शुरुआत से शांति का पक्ष रखा है। हम इस विषय के शांतिपूर्ण और स्थायी समाधान के लिए किए जा रहे सभी प्रयासों का स्वागत करते हैं। भारत सदैव अपना योगदान देने के लिए तैयार रहा है और आगे भी रहेगा। आतंकवाद के विरुद्ध लड़ाई में भारत और रूस ने लंबे समय से कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर सहयोग किया है। पहलगाम में हुआ आतंकी हमला हो या क्रोकस सिटी हॉल पर किया गया कायरतापूर्ण आघात, इन सभी घटनाओं की जड़ एक ही है। भारत का अटल विश्वास है कि आतंकवाद मानवता के मूल्यों पर सीधा प्रहार है और इसके विरुद्ध वैश्विक एकता ही हमारी सबसे बड़ी ताकत है। भारत और रूस के बीच यूएन, G20, ब्रिक्स, SCO तथा अन्य मंचों पर करीबी सहयोग रहा है। करीबी तालमेल के साथ आगे बढ़ते हुए हम इन सभी मंचों पर अपना संवाद और सहयोग जारी रखेंगे। एक्सेलेंसी, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में हमारी मित्रता हमें ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस का सामना करने की शक्ति देगी और यही भरोसा हमारे साझा भविष्य को और समृद्ध करेगा। मैं एक बार फिर आपको और आपके पूरे डेलीगेशन को भारत यात्रा के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। स्पासिबा।
Okay, well, that is Prime Minister Modi thanking his Russian counterpart, President Putin, and of course reaffirming the strong relationship India enjoys with Russia, has enjoyed with Russia for decades now. There is a flash at the bottom of the screen. Cloudflare, which is the global cloud platform, cloud provider, is down, and it's hit lots of trading platforms like Zerodha, Grow, and others. We will try and reach out to these individual players and tell you if the extent of the disruption that many of these platforms are seeing. I mean, the online guys now are, I guess I think 40-50% of the market, maybe more, in terms of the daily trading volumes. I mean, these online guys would be easily more than 50%, I reckon. So an eye on this one as we reach out to some of these companies. But just to go back to the other big story, right, which is Keynes, and it started like a slow, steady drip down, and now it's full on 10.5% cut. So it was frozen 9.9%, and now of course it's open, it's gone down a bit more. Mangalam is here with what he's made of that Kotak report, what they put out in terms of specific instances of discrepancies of reporting, and what the street makes of it. Mangalam, over to you.
Typically when a report like this does come by and there is clarification and management commentary that immediately happens, the stock tends to recover. But this time around, it's not. In fact, it's only sold off currently at the low point of trade, which tells you that maybe the street wants a little more in terms of clarification and understanding from the management. And there are four most important things that Kotak has highlighted in its note. And this is from their annual report analysis along with the reconciliation that they've done with some of the accounts of their subsidiaries as well. The first one is there has been a significant revenue and profit contribution coming in from their smart metering business. Here the discrepancy is that most of Iskraemeco, which is their smart metering business, their full year revenues of 620 crores and 49 crore of profit accrued after the acquisition in the second half of this year. Then they looked at Iskraemeco's full year numbers, and that meant that there was a full year profit of 60 lakh rupees, which means two things. One, that in the second half of the year, the company made a profit margin of 28%, which is unusually high for a smart metering business. And secondly, the first half was a 48 crore rupee loss, now which is fairly uncharacteristic because FY24 was profitable and there was no evident cost driver in the first half of FY25 which explains such a big cost swing. The second part, there was ambiguous accounting treatment under the goodwill reserve adjustment for acquisition. So the company had acquired a couple of companies for about 883 million rupees or 88 crore rupees, for which ideally they should have recognized about 114 crores as goodwill, but that wasn't the case to be. In fact, in the annual report, the goodwill was actually netted off against capital reserves, and there was a sharp addition in intangibles of around 180 crores as well for technical know-how. So that was ambiguous. The third part, there was a lack of consistency in related party transactions. So they looked at Iskraemeco's numbers and that said that there were purchases of 180 crore made from Keynes, and the same wasn't reflected in Keynes related party disclosures. And to this the company clarified that this was an inadvertent error made by them and they will fix it. But remember, these are accounting errors and a big amount as well at that. Year-end payables to Keynes of around 320 crores and receivables from Keynes at around 190 crores. All of that were not reflected in Keynes related party transactions. There was a 22-day increase in cash conversion cycle, high capex leading to negative free cash flow as well. And the fourth important point among the many that they made, the one that stood out was there was a variance in cash flow statement versus asset addition. If you look at the FY24 cash flow statement, it reports a purchase of 950 crore worth fixed assets. And this wasn't reconciling with the assets that were made or the additions that were made to the balance sheet to the tune of 770 crores. So these are factors which has the street spooked. The stock now down by 11%.
Right. Mangalam, just on that point, which is not common, it's a broader point, which is that all these companies, right, and we should put up the intradays of Syrma, Amber, PG Electroplast, they're all aggressively expanding, which means that I don't think any of them make positive free cash flows. They're all in the negative right now.
Right.
They're all taking a bit of a hit, 4-5%. Sometimes when an issue is kind of highlighted and comes to the fore, I mean, it shows up in other places as well. You reckon that's what's happening with others? Have you heard anything?
I would suppose that was something that will happen with others as well. But Keynes is a very specific case, right? So now it may prompt people to perhaps take some profits off on the others as well. But no such specific instance that we've seen in all the others that was...
No, I don't mean any discrepancy. I just mean that just that one point.
Yeah,
that they're all... they don't make free cash flow, that's all.
Theoretically, Prashant, the one thing that you learn is that when everything goes down, the only thing that goes up is correlation. And perhaps that is happening right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think PGL down 5.5. Amber is lower, 4%. And Syrma is also taking a bit of a knock. I think Deven is... let's play out the soundbite of Keynes. We spoke with him in the morning. And then we'll ask Deven about the others. He doesn't have a view on Keynes, but maybe the others. Let's play that soundbite.
It is only in the standalone we have missed, which we clearly clarified.
Okay.
Notes to accounts, it is missing. That's all. That is also in one company. But if you see the P&L as well as in the balance sheet, it is all appearing. There is no inconsistency, whatever he is saying. However, we agree that there is a miss there, and which we will take corrective action. See, this is an age receivable in Iskraemeco books. Whatever, when we acquired itself, it was there, which we will be reconciling and closing it.
Okay. By when, sir?
By this financial year end, we should be able to close it. See, this is a capital-intensive business. However, we are working, and by the financial year end, we will bring it to sub-90 days cash cycle. So with that, it will become positive. And we are having plans put in place to achieve this.
By when, sir, will it come down to less than 90 days?
By this year end.
And you turn free cash flow positive, operating cash flow positive?
Yes.
By when?
By this March, it will be OCF positive.
Okay, so that was the promise that their working capital days will improve. They will turn free cash flow positive by the end of the current fiscal year. But none of that, including, of course, that clarification to the exchanges, none of that has really helped. In fact, the stock continues to struggle. It's taken the others down with it. So that's one big sector. By the way, just noticing a spike on the screen on fertilizer stocks. So just a reference over here. National Fertilizer, all of them, Madras Fertilizer, RCF, all the stocks are suddenly shooting through the roof. Not sure if there's any immediate policy move, but anyway, this is what's playing out for the time being. Devin, before we let you go, shorter conversation today. Of course, the sector of the day on the upside obviously has been banks and NBFCs, thanks to the RBI is not just today's policy, but I think a lot of people are reading between the lines and they think that a rate cut even in February could very much happen. Within the NBFC pack in particular, what would you like? Say big stocks like Shriram Finance, M&M Finance, Bajaj Finance, they're all surging. Are they still a buy or would you rather have some tier 2 picks?
Yeah, Survi, good afternoon. Well, I think the NBFC space will continue to perform well, largely because of higher amount of growth which they are experiencing with their retail consumer. And Bajaj Finance in particular, I think, shows a distinct character of growing faster compared to their peers. They have been successful in integrating the fintech on the product platform. As a result of which, I think they have been successful in growing the loan book faster, at the same time managing significantly higher amount of NIM. So to a greater extent, even if in a shorter duration, if there is a squeeze on NIM, I think it does not affect them beyond a point. Because on one side, the growth in the AUM book is faster, and on the other side, I think they're covering sufficiently with the margin under the subvention pricing product mechanism that they employ. So I believe that I think this is one company which is a distinctly different character compared to others, and I think one should remain long on to this company.
By the way, I just want to point out, the team is pointing out in all the bilateral agreements that have been signed, there's one on fertilizers as well. We don't have exact contours, have to wait for the specifications once those press release and the notifications are out. But there is some sort of a fertilizer agreement between India and Russia, and that's leading to a big bump up on these stocks right now. All right, Devin, we'll let you go today. Thank you so much for joining in. Couldn't take too many questions because just too many things going on, but you have a good weekend, and we look forward to connecting again soon. With that, let's turn to the other big story that's been playing out for the last couple of days, including today. And the latest is that the DGCA seems to be willing to give Indigo a one-time exemption to get these scenes of chaos finally under control that have been playing out across the country. We have, I think, Shivani joining in. Shivani, I think, the last we heard, what you told us was complete cancellation, no flights out of Delhi. I think disruptions at Mumbai as well. Tell us what's going on and is there some agreement now finally between the airline and DGCA?
Well, Surbi, absolutely. There has been chaos and disruptions across major airports across India in the last 2 to 3 days, and now what we are understanding from sources, and DGCA has come out with major, the DGCA is willing to change a lot of rules for Indigo. Now, the DGCA has taken major steps today to ease the pressure on India's aviation system, starting with the crucial relaxation specifically for Indigo. The regulator has granted Indigo a one-time temporary exemption from parts of the new FDTL norms for its A320 fleet. This includes rolling back the night duty window to the earlier midnight to 5 a.m. instead of the current midnight to 6 a.m. This exemption is being given till February, 10th of February, and the regulator emphasized that this exemption is only to stabilize operations. With that, in a separate move aimed at all the airlines, not just at Indigo, DGCA has withdrawn the rule that barred substitution of weekly rest with leaves for pilots and crew. Until now, weekly rest for crew could not be replaced under any circumstances. With this new rule now put on hold, airlines get much more flexibility to manage rosters during this period of heavy disruption. So both these decisions come just a day after Indigo flagged severe roster strain under the new FDTL norms with the DGCA meeting yesterday. The regulator is clearly opening up temporary flexibility to help Indigo bring operations back on track as quickly as possible.
Okay, all right, Shivani, thanks very much. And hopefully this restores at least some order, even as the airline finally, increases the pace of their hiring. Let's take a break on that note. Thank you for joining in. We'll take a break, come back on the other side, and we'll have Rupen Rajguru from Julius Baer joining in with some market perspective. Welcome back. So the market continues to hold on to a bulk of its gains, at least at the large cap screen. Mid caps are a little wobbly. The mid cap index was slipping, but now it's sort of trying to find its feet once again. And banks continue to be the big leaders. The Bank Nifty is now pushing almost a 1% gain, so it's been good. Before we move on and introduce our next guest on the show, here's something interesting that Hormuz has put together for us. Now, shareholder lock-ins of a lot of recent listings will be coming to an end sometime next week. And Hormuz tracks this very, very carefully. And I know for some of these very high-profile IPOs, Hormuz, even I want to see what happens when the big guys are allowed to exit. Do they exit or do they stay? Tell us.
Well, not mandatorily so, but yes, of course. The big, much talked about IPOs of last month and from October, they will face their first big test next week when their shareholder lock-in comes to an end, be it Lenskart, Pine Labs, Grow, Urban Company. Urban Company, of course, will be the second instance. But for Pine Labs will be facing its shareholder lock-in end twice next week. We'll start with the first one that ends on Monday. We had close to 20 million shares freeing up 2% outstanding, close to around 480 crore rupee worth of shares that will free up for trade on Monday. The stock as of now is up around 9-10% from its issue price. Now, Lenskart's lock-in also ends on Monday. The fact that shares worth almost close to 1700 crores will free up for trade, almost 41 million shares, and the stock has continued to remain around its IPO price of around 402 rupees as well. Now, Grow, the stock has done fairly okay so far. It's up 50% from its IPO price. It will have close to 150 million shares freeing up. The value of those shares well over 2200 crore rupees. So keep Grow on your radar as well. The second instance of Pine Lab shareholder lock-in ending comes on Friday, which is the 12th. And there we'll see close to 40 million shares free up for trade, 3% outstanding. And that value is almost close to 1,000 crore rupees. And Urban Company, of course, this will be their 3-month shareholder lock-in that will be ending. Here you will see around 41.5 million shares free up, 3% outstanding, 530 crore worth of shares, and the stock is up around 24% from its IPO price. You know, singling Grow and Urban Company out because the way with which they went up from their issue price within almost 5-6 days, they had almost doubled. Now take a look at the fall that they have had from those post-listing highs. Grow is down 23%, Urban Company down even worse, down 36% from its post-listing high, which was around 200 rupees. So it will be the first big test for a lot of these companies, particularly so for Grow, Pine Labs, Lenskart, and a lot of these new listings.
And Hormuz is, got all the stats, historical, current, everything on fingertips. It keeps us updated with a lot of that data point. Very interesting. Thanks very much, Hormuz, and we'll track this one as this comes up next week. All of these, actually. Rupen Rajguru is with us, Head of Equity Investment Strategy at Julius Baer. Rupen, good to have you here. You know, we were earlier discussing the fall in all EMS companies. Keynes, of course, is much discussed. The others less so. But the others are also down 4-5% in some cases. Do you think, Rupen, this is, growth rates are 50%, 100%, even 100% in some cases. 26 over 25 in some cases. If FY 26 over 25, maybe it'll slow down in 27 and 28. But focus so far has been on growth rates exclusively. How fast can you grow? Cash flows, not so much. Do you think that's coming into the spotlight? I'm just trying to connect a thread through what's happened with Keynes and some of the others today.
Yeah, hi, afternoon, Prashant. So, whenever any sector or any company grows at a very high pace, it's always important to look through the lens from a cash flow perspective. So, while I'll not get into the details of, the kind of aggressive accounting which, one of the sell-side broker has highlighted, but typically, and as you rightly said, when there is one instance, there is a general feeling that similar things would have been done by others, and hence there is this market reaction. And if I were to just recall your memory, while it's not talked about, but some time back, I know the talk of the town was the RBI AQR review from a bank's perspective, right? Whenever RBI came out with certain things on the way some banks have done underprovided as compared to what they should have, and we have seen not only that bank but similar banks with high growth also had a similar market reaction. So moving that aside, purely from a EMS perspective, yes, whenever there is high growth, and to top it up, the margins of these companies are also pretty low. So we have to be cognizant of what kind of margins these companies are making. And now clearly the focus of all the investors also would be on the actual receivables, cash flows, and all other parameters. So yes, whenever any stock is priced to perfection and builds in a lot of growth, a small news, negative news it's not that the growth has got punctured, but definitely the market is now looking it from a different lens and might derate it to some extent, and that's what is exactly happening.
All right. Hi, Rupen. Good to see you. And Rupen, actually, Q4 has been quite a contra quarter, right? India has outperformed emerging markets after underperforming for the first 3 quarters. And tech has come back. What do you have to say about that? Do you think things will start looking up from here? And your view on tech?
Yeah, hi, Nigel. Afternoon. So I think that's the usual case, and if I were to just step back and look through, from any investor, and particularly a global investor standpoint, what are the 2-3 things that they look into? A, whether a particular asset is a macro trade. So probably globally this year, the macro trade has been gold. 2, whether it's a momentum trade. And AI is definitely, and anything and everything related to AI has been a momentum trade. And 3 is mispricing. So probably China was a mispricing trade. So India was not featuring anywhere, and hence we have been seeing a constant outflows. But yes, beyond a point, when the earnings growth trajectory was starting to move up, definitely there is a scope of a little bit of mean reversion, and which is, as you very rightly pointed out, India in the 4th quarter, while to shorter time period, India has outperformed EMs and even US, and IT index has come back into reckoning. And particularly on IT, Nigel, if you recollect a couple of months back, what I had shared in your channel, that typically IT as a sector usually witnesses the highest differential between 52-week high and 52-week low. So any year you take into consideration the large IT stocks, also the difference between 52-week high and low is around anywhere between 30 and 40%. And from a valuation standpoint, that 18 to 22 band is the band at which typically it trades when there is no growth focus. So when probably a few months back it had gone to around 19 odd P multiple purely from a dividend deal and all other perspective, there was a good sounding base. And probably in the near term also the rupee tailwind has helped, and that has led to it going back to 2021 odd P for some of these stocks. From here on, probably in the extremely near term, the news flow of INR will keep the IT stock excited, which is probably exactly happening right now. But now they have reached that fair valuation, and now I think the more positive commentary coming from the companies will only take it higher. So probably if they are in their upper band in the extremely near term, and it might consolidate here and even correct if there are no positive news flows from it.
All right, Rupen, sorry, apologies for this, but a short but effective chat. Thanks a lot for joining in, Rupen, and filling us in with all of those details. I don't know whether we speak later this year, but have a good festive season and then catch up in 2026 again. All right, it's that time of the show when Nimesh joins in to tell us what is he picking up in D Street Chat. And Nimesh, I believe a lot of dealers have started packing their bags, getting ready for the holidays. But today, what are you picking up?
A decent recovery, Nigel, post the RBI policy, largely led by the financial names, the rate sensitive, so to speak. So NBFCs, real estate names, all have seen a bit of a pullback or a short covering rally. But NBFC stands out because there is a bit of buying as well in select NBFC names from the larger institutions today. So that clearly is from a flow perspective. Broadly, the flows have been mixed. But again, it may look large because of the ITC block. Remember, the seller is an FDI. But in terms of buyers, institutional names will come largely dominated by domestic funds. So the DI number could look large because of the ITC block, ITC hotels block there. Broader market pain continues. So a lot of, even after a big underperformance, there is a lot of drawdown in many of the mid cap and small cap names. So that's the pain which is still there from a broader market perspective. I guess technically though, it looks like there is a bit of a breakout on the Nifty. And if the Nifty closes below above 26,250, the sense is that could be further short covering as well. So it's a two-side market. The Nifty is virtually at an all-time high, but the pain in the broader market continues.
Nimesh, in terms of individual names, what's on your list today?
So the first stock on my list is Bharti Airtel. Within the telecom names, this is one stock which is well bid by institutions. There are strong buy flows as well of late. And I understand a leading domestic mutual fund is an aggressive buyer in Bharti Airtel in the last couple of days. For the entire telecom sector, the next big trigger would be a potential tariff hike, which Citi is anticipating that can come in this month itself. So that's a buzz there or a trigger for the telecom stocks to do well. The second name is Godrej Industries. This is interesting. In line with the broader market underperformance, even Godrej Industries has fallen sharply from the recent highs. But looks like the selling pressure from a leading FI is largely over. So a bit of a green tick today, but largely the fact that the FI selling is over in Godrej Industries. The third name is Aavas Financials. There was a block in today's trade, and after that you've seen a bit of recovery as well. I understand the seller was an FII who's looking to merge into the new entity. So that selling seems to be largely over in Aavas Financials, and hence you've seen a bit of an intraday pullback in that name today.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Nimesh. Well, just one more stock keep on your radar is Keynes Technology. As we know, the stock is down. Open interest built up on that sort of a base is more than 30%. And as of current reading, the stock could potentially go into the F&O band. It's in that vicinity of around 94-95% of MWPL. So keep an eye out on that one. There's a probability it goes into the F&O band. It's very, very close. Tell you what, slip into a short break, come back. We'll continue to focus on markets. We'll also get you some technical calls.
Number one.
Welcome back. Well, a few stocks actually are spiking up. Capillary Technologies, that's a stock that's actually recovered on very large volumes. At the start of this hour, it was in the red. That's moved into the green. And Grow as well has suddenly seen a sharp uptick. Stock did see some bit of a pullback. And now that one as well has spiked up. I think we should get both those two names up for you on the screen. One more name, I think Ganesha Ecosphere. Another stock that's seen a very, very sharp correction. That's pullback as well. Currently moved to the high point of the day. Well, let's get in Mitesh Thakkar back on the show. Mitesh, what's the trade you have for us?
Yeah. Well, Indus Tower is something, which is closing with good setup and strength at the day's high. So BTST here with the stop at 412, so 424. I think PGL was discussed. It's a negative stock chart in the short term. So take a estimate there. Stop at 562 for targets of 540. There, of course, yeah.
Okay, all right, got that. Thanks very much, Mitesh, for all the trading cues and the ideas. You have a good weekend. We'll catch you again on Monday. Dharmesh Kant, Head of Research at Chola Securities, is joining in. Dharmesh, good to have you on the show. First things first, Keynes, what a casualty. And now it's taking down its other peers with it. What have you made of everything that's gone on? The clarification they gave to the exchange. To us, they said that they'll become free cash flow positive. It's only one line item where there was a discrepancy. Does it, cut ice with you?
Yeah, good afternoon, Surbi. Thanks for having me for the show. I mean, see, I would start it in a different way. I will look at the, the profit trajectory of Keynes, 23, 100% growth, 24, again, 100% growth. 25, it was 60%, and this morning when the management came on different channels, they were guiding for 45 to 50% kind of a growth. So going forward, this growth is definitely tapering. It will come down to 25, 20% kind of a growth trajectory. And let's not forget, L&T is also venturing into EMS space. So that's a big overhang for all the EMS players who are there, who are enjoying high valuation multiples. So this disconnect which was there on the valuation multiples they were enjoying, and the kind of growth trajectory they would be making on was to be sorted out, and this is what is happening. And there were many fence sitters as a fund managers and investors, HNIs, who were thinking whether to exit the space or book profits. And when such kind of a reports roll out, it definitely pushes the decision faster and the selling happens. I think today the reaction is more to do with that, and some of the opportunist traders who are trying to take advantage of it. Having said that, I mean, finally, this has to settle down because it's an audited report. And I mean, the clarification from the management on each point and the discrepancy, some of which they have accepted, has to be seen forward to. The only gray point is one is the growth trajectory, the second is the goodwill, which is always a gray kind of a consideration. If it happens between related party transactions, the gray color gets more thicker. And the third is the working capital stress. I think working capital stress they will get through. As far as buying at this juncture or thinking of buying, I would advise not to. Wait for some more time and more clarity and clarification to come through, and leave it aside. Forget Keynes as of now.
Okay, all right. We'll want to know then what to buy, Dharmesh. I'll tell you what, we'll slip into a short break. Come back. Dharmesh should have a couple of picks for us. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Well, it's turning out to be a good end to the week at least, and the bulls have managed to defend not just 26,000 but almost closing in on 26,200 as we are closing out. Dharmesh, so let's ask you for some ideas. Anything interesting? Any new stock? Actually, didn't ask you. Indigo, Interglobe Aviation. Is it a time to buy in all this uncertainty or stay away?
No, sorry. I think the uncertainty is there. I mean, they have given a window of time, but the thing is, post that window, this rule will definitely get implemented. Then what? I mean, after 2 months, 3 months, are they in a position to get the pilots, a sufficient number of pilots to run and the crew members to run the flights or not? So if that capacity gets diluted, so to that extent, the adjustment has to be there in the P&L projections. So I think it will languish here till the clarity emerges. But for punters, I mean, if you want to take a punt, then definitely one can try and go ahead and get a dig into Indigo. I think they must be setting on some plans. But let's see. My own sense is there would be a dilution of 5 to 10% in the earnings for next 1 year.
Okay, then give us any fresh idea, Dharmesh, that you'll have.
Yeah, thanks, Sahil. Today we have initiated, initiating coverage on Power Mech. This is a company which is primarily into civil construction and EPC of thermal power projects, and they are sitting on a large order book of 53,000 odd crores. 40,000 crores is from the MDO division, which is newly started. The entire impact will start flowing in from FY 28 and 29 onwards. But the existing projects are good enough to take care of a 25% kind of a profitability CAGR. They are also into operations and maintenance of the thermal power plants. So 80 megawatts of new capacities are coming, and 63 megawatt will go for overall of the thermal power plant. So the trajectory remains fairly strong. They have compounded earnings for around 30% for last 3 years. Going forward, we think 25% is doable. And we are projecting a PAT of around 670 crores for FY28. Presently, they reported 348 kind of a PAT close. So even if you give it a valuation multiple of 12 PE, with a operating margin of 11-12 and ROE of 18%, the target price comes to be 2650. So this is the initial target price. As the numbers sold by, we'll keep on revising the target. Management is hopeful of getting 10,000 crores of order book by end of FY26. 5,000 crores they have already got.
Power Mech, one of those stocks that did very well and then fell off the cliff. Dharmesh is quite positive. I think, Dharmesh, what's the target price you said?
Yeah, to begin with, initially we have started with a target price of 2650. This is for a medium-term target, yeah.
All right, Dharmesh, thanks a lot for joining in. Wishing you a rocking evening and a good weekend as well. Catch up next week.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, that's the day when the markets go home in the green. The Nifty trades with a gain of close to around 150 points, and we end above that 26,180 odd mark. The one that powered its way back today was the Nifty Bank. The good point this week was both the Nifty and the Nifty Bank, they showed some fight when that 20 DMA was in doubt. And that's the reason why we go home with gains in otherwise a bit of a wobbly week. Shriram Finance stock was up close to around 3%. So good move is what we saw in today's trading session. SBI stood out 2.5% higher out there. And Bajaj Finserv as well, up close to 2%. From the auto names, Maruti Suzuki, well, that one was up and about. HUL stock appears it was down close to 5%, but its business, ice cream business, moved out, and that's why there was an adjustment on that front. So, adjusted for that, I think the stock was down only around 2% or thereabouts. Eternal was down about 1.5%, and Interglobe Aviation, shareholders not happy, customers not happy. Hopefully, things do get resolved. The biggest casualty on the downside for today's trade